Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So as you can probably tell, I have a ton of books behind me and we are doing a book haul video. So these are books that I have accumulated over the last 3 months or so since the beginning of the year. And about half of them are thrifted, are bought secondhand. So they are not all new purchases. Thankfully, my pocketbook could not take that. But I do have them organized by where I got them, not when. I have no idea on chronological order, but I wanted to have some kind of system in place so that hopefully this goes pretty smoothly. I've never done a video like this before, so I hope it's at least entertaining for you guys. This first little stack that we're gonna do, just 3 books, and that is from Pango. The first one is Harlan Cobain's Home. So I have quite a few books by this author on my shelves. I thoroughly enjoy them. I think I only have 1 other unread, so I guess now 2. They're usually quick reads, suspense, thrillers, crime type novels. In this one, we are 10 years since 2 boys were kidnapped or went missing, and only 1 has surfaced. And they're trying to figure out what happened that day and what happened to the boy that's still missing. So I think it's gonna be a good time. Like I said, I thoroughly enjoy his books. So the next 2 are part of a series, a very long series that you've probably heard of before. So that is the Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. So I have Death Masks and Blood Rights. I believe that's books 5 and 6. I could be totally wrong about that. This series is very long. I believe the 18th book just got published. Throughout these books, we're following Harry Dresden. He is a wizard who helps the police solve unusual cases. So it's kind of a mix of detective crime novels and fantasy. I am really enjoying this so far, but I'm kind of nervous to get very far into it because even people who enjoy this series don't seem to love the later books. I'm not sure if the plot kind of falls apart, but so far I'm still really enjoying this and I have a long way to get to the end of this anyways. This next stack is books that I thrifted just around town, different little shops. I think most of these I paid about $2 for. I'm gonna preface these and most of these books with a lot of these I just gravitated towards. I didn't necessarily know anything about the titles or the authors, so it's a mystery to me as well as to you. All right, first one here is The Devil All the Time by Donald Ray Pollock. I, again, have never heard of this author or this book, but apparently people like it. It was turned into a Netflix film, or will be, I'm not sure. I'll read you the back real quick. It says, in the backwoods of Ohio, Willard Russell's wife is at death's door. No matter how much he drinks, prays, or sacrifices animals at his prayer log. Meanwhile, his son Arvin is growing up. From a kid bullied at school, into a man who knows when to take action. Around them swirl a nefarious cast of characters, a demented team of serial killers, a spider-eating preacher, and a corrupt local sheriff, all braided into a riveting narrative of the grittiest American grain. It sounds kind of chaotic, but but it does sound good. I'm excited to get to this. I am excited to get to all of these books, and I'm only sad that there's just no way I can read all of these right now. So next one, I have heard of this author, Peter James, Not Dead Enough. So I don't believe I've read anything by this author, but I know he has an extensive backlist, I think like 40 titles. And in this one, we are following a detective, Roy Grace, who I believe is our main character in quite a few of the books. From what I can tell, they are interconnected standalones, so I don't need to have read anything else to read this one. But honestly, the spine grabbed my attention. It's pretty neon pink, and then it's been well loved, as you can tell. So I look forward to this one. It is a chunky novel, but and I forgot to tell you what it's about. So Detective Roy Grace is trying to figure out how somebody killed their wife when, from what they can tell, the person was nowhere near the crime scene, but he's still convinced that the husband did it. So he's trying to figure out how he pulled off being in 2 places at once. So, and the next one is Death's Just Book. say that 10 times fast, by Reginald Hill. So this is another detective crime type novel. It sounds like we're following multiple plot points in this one. Like we have one officer who is receiving strange and threatening letters from someone they've accused of crime multiple times that keeps walking free. And then another officer is trying to rescue a boy who's telling him about a heist of a treasure. I have no idea how those two things go together or how those paths will cross, if they even do, but it sounded interesting, so we'll see how that goes. The next one is a sci-fi. So this is Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler. I've heard great things about this author, and I have heard of this title before. This author has passed, but all of her works were sci-fi and usually discussing pretty heavy topics or social issues. So I have a feeling it's going to be really good. I know, again, that she's a well-loved author in this space. And when I read the back, I was like convinced she's predicting our futures or something, because the first line is, when global climate change and economic crises lead to a social chaos in the early 2020s, California becomes full of dangers, from pervasive water shortage to masses of vagabonds who will do anything to live to see another day. So, sounds real familiar, might be a little difficult to read that part, but we are following a 15-year-old girl named Lauren in this, and it sounds like she's trying to protect her family, but the community's not really playing their part to kind of fix the problems that are going on. So I think it will be a good read. It might be a little deep and heavy. I've heard that about her works, but I'm really excited to give it a try. The next one, I think this one I actually paid $4 for, but that is Zoo by James Patterson and Michael Ledwid. I'm not sure if he co-wrote. They don't really mention him much, like in the synopses or on the back. But I bought this because I absolutely loved the TV show when it came out. It ran for a few seasons, and I really enjoyed it. So we are following a biologist named Jackson Oz, and science has basically gone too far. They were experimenting on animals, and these animals started gaining abilities outside of their natural evolution, and they become a threat to humanity. Giant stack. Is all secondhand from my local book exchange. It is a good option. If you have anything like that near you, I recommend it. A lot of these have kind of paid for themselves multiple times over, because I'll read stuff. If I don't want to keep it on the shelves, I take it back to them and get something else. So it's a nice little system. Okay. This first one, it's See What I Have Done by Sarah Schmidt. So this is about Lizzie Borden. It'll be interesting to see this author's take on the murder of her family and her and Lizzie's role in that interesting kind of lore buildup around her. Next two are a duology, I believe. I don't think there's going to be another one. And again, these are sci-fi. Apparently, I was on a sci-fi kick, because that's going to be a running theme here too. I do enjoy sci-fi. I tend not to read it very often, but apparently that's what I've been in the mood for, because that's what I've purchased. So the first one here is How Roy Thorne Destroyed the Multiverse, and the second one is How the Multiverse Got Revenge, and these are by Kay Eason. I was just really drawn to the cover. In this, we are following Roy Thorne, who is set to take over her father's interplanetary consortium business, but her father is killed and she is betrothed to someone on a different planet, I believe. Yeah. And when she gets there, she uncovers like a nefarious plot that's happening, and so she's trying to prevent that. It sounds like it'll be interesting. The titles and the covers are very catching. So the next two are from the same author, Sherry Lapina. So it's The End of Her and Not a Happy Family. So these are like mystery thrillers. I've heard great things about this author, but I've never read any of her works, so I wanted to give it a try. And they both kind of sound like they're domestic thrillers, maybe. They're set in neighborhoods within the home, so I don't really want to know much more about them. I like to know as little as possible going into this type of book. So Again, I've heard great things, and hopefully I found a new favorite author. Next one is a sci-fi that I'm actually really excited about. I mean, I'm excited about all these, but this is Lord of Opium, and that is by Nancy Farmer. So this is a sequel to a book that I read in the 6th grade. The first book came out in 2002. I actually still have it. Hang on. Okay. So, House of the Scorpion by Nancy Farmer. This is book 1. So this is my original copy from 6th grade. I loved that book so much. And I never knew there was a sequel. And so when I looked, this came out 11 years later. So by then I was in college, and I guess it makes sense that I didn't look in the YA section for the sequel. I didn't know about it. But in the first one, we are following a character named Mateo. They call him Matt. He is a clone that is being raised for a very specific purpose. And in this one, it looks like Mateo has taken over and serving his purpose that he was raised for. But at the very end here, it says, Matt is sure that in his new position, he can find a way to break the cycle of violence and destruction, but it will only be possible if he chooses the right people to trust. So it sounds like maybe he's trying to dismantle the system that he was raised in, kind of from the inside. I won't say much else about any of it because it'll spoil it, but I am excited to get back in this world. Next one is again a sci-fi, and this book I saw floating around a few years back like crazy. It just never grabbed my attention at the time. Maybe it wasn't the right time for me to pick it up or read it, but this time I wanted to, and that is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. It's set in 2044, and virtual reality is way further advanced than we currently have it. And our main character is in a virtual world trying to solve all these puzzles to earn a prize, and it turns deadly. So it sounds like it would be a good time. I'm not sure if it's going to give me that competition type feeling. I do like that to an extent, so we'll see. The next one is completely outside my wheelhouse for reading. That is Normal People by Sally Rooney. It was a very popular book. A lot of people have read it, and I've heard a lot of mixed reviews. People either love it or they don't. Again, it's not in my wheelhouse, but I thought I would give it a try. It's not a very long book, and just see if this is something that I can get into. And if it's not for me, that's okay, but I want to give it a try. Next one is a horror book, and that is Relics by Tim Levin. This author wrote Aliens and Predator, and I believe The Cabin in the Woods. Yes. So he is obviously a horror writer. This kind of sounds like it is horror fantasy, and I've never read anything from this author. So I've seen the movies that have been adapted from his work, but I've never read the books. But this sounds really interesting, and I believe it's the first book of either a duology or a trilogy, I'm not sure. But it says, there's an underground black market for arcane things, akin to trade in rhino horns or tiger bones. This network traffics in remains of griffins, fairies, goblins, and other fantastic creatures. When her fiancé Vince goes missing, Angela Go, an American criminology student, discovers that he was part of this secretive trade. It is a big money business, shadowy, brutal, and sometimes fatal. As the trail leads her deeper into London's dark side, she crosses paths with a crime lord whose life is dedicated to collecting these relics. Then Angela discovers that some of these objects aren't as ancient as they seem. Some of them are fresh. So it does sound really good. Hopefully I enjoy it, and if I do, then I'll keep an eye out for at least the second book. So last one from the stack of books that I got at the book exchange is a very popular book. Probably doesn't need a whole lot of explanation. And there's another sci-fi. As The Ultimate Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. And this is the bind up of all 5 books. I know I've seen the movie, and I want to say that I read part at least of the first book, but I don't know that for sure. Yeah, I wanted to give it a try, and I've seen it floating around again a lot. People are like rereading this, and I think that's what made me kind of grab it when I saw it on the shelves. But it does seem like a good time. Again, I do remember enjoying the movie, and I know people really do enjoy this, so I'm excited for that. These next couple I ordered off of Amazon. So the first one is A Danger to Herself and Others, and this is Alyssa Sheenmel. This is about a girl named Hannah who's in high school. Something happens when she's at a summer camp. Something happens to her roommate that kind of lands her in a psychiatric hospital. And all she wants to do is go back to school and finish her senior year. And she seems to be doing better when she meets another student named Lucy, who seems to be bringing up those mental health issues again. So it says, Lucy may be the one person who can get Hannah to confront the secrets she's avoiding and the dangerous games that landed her in confinement in the first place. So it sounds really interesting. I appreciate when books discuss mental health issues, even if it's, you know, not in the best light, because that is the reality sometimes. I personally struggle with quite a bit of mental health issues, so it's always nice to see it represented a little bit. The next three all go together. They are volumes 1, 2, and 3 of a graphic novel series. Something is Killing the Children. That's 1, 2, and 3. And this is a horror graphic novel series. I have read the first one, and I'm just flipping to find some artwork to show you guys. There we go. Sorry, that took a minute. Very pretty. It's very well drawn. In these, essentially, monsters exist. Only children can see them, and children in small towns are being attacked and murdered, and it's horrific. Nobody can figure out what's going on because the adults can't see the monsters, don't believe in them, so the kids can't even get help if they do try to reach out. And then our main character starts coming into these towns. Her name is Erica. She can see the monsters and she slays them. And in this book, she arrives at a small town where these tragedies are happening and nobody trusts her. They think she's part of what's happening to the kids and they try to lock her up. And it's kind of chaotic, but it's a good time. They're quick reads. They're just little graphic novels, I think 120-ish pages. So far, I'm enjoying it. They are, I want to say there's 30 volumes. I am enjoying them and they are quick reads. So the rest of these were purchased from Barnes & Noble or Target pretty much exclusively. So first one is The Locked Door by Frida McFadden. So this is a mystery thriller. I enjoy Frida McFadden's work. I usually read it on Kindle. So this is the first time I think I'm getting a physical copy of her book. People have mixed feelings on this one, it sounds like. They don't think it's like her strongest work, but it sounds really good to me. I'll read you the back here. When 11-year-old Nora Davis was up in her bedroom doing homework, she had no idea her father was killing women in the basement until the day the police arrived at their front door. Decades later, Nora's father is spending his life behind bars, and Nora is a successful surgeon with a quiet, solitary existence. Nobody knows about her past, and she'll do anything to keep it that way. Then one of her young female patients is murdered, killed in the same unique and horrific manner that her father used to kill his victims. Somebody knows who Nora is. Somebody wants her to take the fall for this unspeakable crime. But she is not like her father. The police can't pin anything on her, as long as they don't look in the basement. So it does sound really good. I'm not sure why people don't like this one, but I do want to make my own opinion. So I'm looking forward to that. So the next one is a sequel, and that is Sunbringer by Hannah Kaner. And this is book 2 after Godkiller. So Godkiller, I am in the middle of reading. I want to say I'm about 50% of the way through. I'm very much enjoying it. This is a beautiful cover, by the way. I've heard people don't love the second one. It just came out, so you know, it might be kind of skewed a little bit at the moment, but in the first book we have basically a merry band of characters all together, and their interactions with each other make up a lot of the story. And in this one, it sounds like everyone's kind of split off and gone their own way to accomplish different things. And I could see why people would be disappointed in that because, like I said, the character relationships and dynamics are kind of what make the first book. So we'll see how I feel about this one. I do believe there's going to be at least another book after this, so we'll see. The next one is Where the Dead Sleep by Joshua Mowing. So I read a book by this author last month or the month before, and it was following the same detective that's in this one, or deputy, excuse me. I enjoyed it. I think I gave it a 3.5 stars. I didn't think I'd read it again, and I didn't want to keep it on my shelves, but I did enjoy it. So in this one, like I said, we're following the same deputy. His name is Deputy Ben Packard, and we're in a small town of Sandy Springs in Minnesota, and one of the citizens is killed, and with interviewing everyone around town, from what Ben can tell, nobody has a real solid motive for wanting him dead. He can't figure out the why to lead him to the who. So it does sound like a really good time. Like I said, I enjoyed the last book, and I do actually really like Deputy Ben Packard. I like his character a lot. I like his backstory. So I am excited to see how this one goes. Maybe I'll like it a little bit better. Next one is I believe it's fantasy, and that is The Library at Mount Char by Scott Hawkins. So this I've heard is amazing. First of all, I've heard it's very, very good. I've also heard there's a lot of violence in this, so check content warnings if you do want to pick this up, because I've heard it's quite extensive, the violence in this book. But it says, Carolyn knows she's a little bit odd, but she figures it's only natural when she spent her life locked away in an infinite library, forced to study at the feet of the man who might be God. She's seen her share of terrible things in those years, and even died a few times herself. Steve tries hard to be an ordinary guy, and he's been doing a pretty good job at it, until Carolyn shows up in his life with a tempting offer. Soon he finds himself swept up in a war waged on a scale he can barely comprehend, as the powerful forces battle for control of the library and the future of the universe itself. Sounds amazing. Like I said, I've heard it is absolutely fantastic. Next one is the first of another very long series, but that is A Curious Beginning by Deanna Rayborn. Beautiful cover. So this is the first of the Veronica Speedwell series. Again, I think this has like 16 books. It's a very long series. These are like cozy mystery type, and that's about all I want to know. I don't want to know anything else going into it. It's a decent sized book, but I've heard these are quick reads and they're really entertaining, so I'm looking forward to that. Next one you've probably seen around a lot as well, and that is What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. So I have read this one. It was really quick, just a little novella. It's very, very good. I do enjoy it. It's based on Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher, which I'm a huge fan of Edgar Allan Poe in general. I do like that original story, and it is a very short story. So it sounds like, from what I was reading, T. Kingfisher wanted to know what would happen if you invested a little more backstory and character building into that Fall of the House of Usher story, and this is what she came up with. I believe there is a second book, What Feasts at Night, maybe? I think that's right. But this feels very much like a standalone. I don't know that I'm gonna pick up the other one. I did enjoy this. I think I gave it a 4-star, but it didn't feel like it needed another book. So I may grab the other one if I see it like secondhand or something like that. But I do recommend reading this if you're interested. It is horror. It is lots of creepy crawly type feelings. And there is actually a TV show, a limited series on Netflix called The Fall of the House of Usher. Not at all like this. It's another creative interpretation of the story, and it is very good. So I do recommend that if you enjoy the feeling of the works of Edgar Allan Poe. The show on Netflix pulls in other elements from other stories of his, and it's actually, they did a really good job. So I do recommend. Small tangent. Next one is also very popular, and that is Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone by Benjamin Stevenson. This sounds like a locked door whodunit type mystery where everyone in our storyteller's family has actually killed someone, including the person telling the story. And that's all I know. That's all I want to know. We're getting there, you guys. Okay. So this next one is a gothic horror, and that is The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas. I've heard mixed things about this. So it sounds like it would be really good. Our main character, her home is destroyed, and I believe her father was executed, and she meets a rich suitor. She agrees to marry him despite not really knowing what happened to the first wife. It's kind of mysterious or sketchy circumstances. And when she moves into his house, she realizes things aren't right. People don't like to stick around after dark. It sounds like it would be good. I've heard mixed things, and hopefully my opinion of it is a little bit better. Next book was a total cover buy for me, and that is Dreambound by Dan Frey. I feel like I've heard this author's name before, but I've never read anything by them, and I've certainly not heard this book. It was just a beautiful cover. And then when I read the back, it kind of gave me vibes of like Inkheart, if you've read those as a kid or seen the movie with Brendan Fraser. It was kind of cheesy, but I loved it. But in this, we're following Byron Kidd. His 12-year-old daughter has gone missing. A bunch of kids have gone missing, and it sounds like they've kind of disappeared into this fictional world, fantastical world written by an author. So he seeks out that author, and he's trying to figure out what's happening to these kids. It sounds like a good time. It could be a total miss, but I love the cover, and I really enjoyed like Inkheart's concepts, so we'll see. This next one is also pretty popular right now, and that is First Lie Wins, and this is by Ashley Elston. I read None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell at the end of last year. I forget what month. I loved that book, and I think I've been searching for those kind of vibes. Sorry, there's a hair somewhere on my face. Okay. I've been searching for similar vibes ever since. So this one and another one gave me that kind of feeling, so I picked them up. But in this one, our main character, I believe it's Evie. Yeah, Evie Porter is kind of living this idyllic life, and it turns out she's not who she says she is, and she is trying to protect her secret at all costs. So that's all I really know. That's all I really want to know. It feels like it's going to be another unreliable narrator type story, which I find I really do enjoy. So these next four are all from Book of the Month. I've been using that service for a little over a year, I think, and I'm trying to play catch up. I'm not as great as I should be about reading them every month, but then there's months like March where I picked 2, so that's kind of my fault. But January 2024 was The Fury by Alex Michaelides. This is the author of Silent Patient and The Maidens. I've not read either one of those, but I do have Silent Patient on my shelf. It was really hyped up, and I think I was just nervous to read it. I don't know why, but I never did. I read The Fury, though. I don't know if they're showing up on camera, but I annotated quite a bit on this. I read this in about 3.5 hours. I flew through it. I ate it up. Very specific type of writing style, and apparently it's very different than his other books. I do recommend it. I would read it again, I think. I think this is a book you could reread and pick up new concepts kind of as you go when you're not so focused on the whodunit side of things. February 2024, I picked The Mayor of Maxwell Street by Avery Cunningham, I believe. Beautiful cover. So in this one, we are following Nellie. Couldn't remember her name. We're following Nellie. It is the 1920s. She is the daughter of a very prominent Black family. She's supposed to be a socialite and a debutante, and she is essentially moonlighting as a investigative reporter, investigating what's happening within the Black community, kind of the atrocities that they're facing. And that's about all I know. I don't really want to know much more than that. It sounds like it's going to be a really good book. I would imagine for our main character, she's going to have to choose between which kind of lifestyle she's going with. The next one is the first of 2 March 2024 Book of the Month picks, and that is Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintira. So this is a suspense with a podcast element. So it's the other one that reminded me of None of This Is True. Two best friends are either attacked or go missing or something like that, and only one shows up and is covered in her friend's blood. And so we are trying to understand what happened that night and what happened to this girl. Sounds very similar to the Harlan Cobain book that I grabbed. Hopefully it's a good read. I know nothing about this author, and I've not heard anything about this book itself. And our final book, we got there, is Annie Bot, and this is by Sierra Greer. So this one is a very short book. This is about a robot girlfriend who's supposed to be perfect, and the boyfriend says he loves how her AI has made her so realistic and human-like, but Annie starts becoming more human and having or wanting to have more autonomy, and she's trying to figure out what she wants in life and what it means to be who she is. And the boyfriend doesn't seem to like it too much. And I enjoyed the game Detroit Become Human. If you've ever heard of that, it's kind of similar concepts. So I am excited to get to all of these. I have to figure out a way to prioritize which ones I'm gonna read, but we have made it through all 36 books. And if you have made it through this video, I appreciate you so much. Hopefully it was not too chaotic, but I will see you guys on the next video. Bye.